Howdy partners, ready for a little walk? Today's the first day the sun's been out for a while. It's been dark and grey for the last 2 weeks, no sun at all. Getting sad complex, what do they call it? Deficiency of sunlight. And today, sun's shining, but only for today. Tomorrow, back to rain. So I thought I'd get out and have a little walk. So, what should we talk about? Probably not interested in this at all for non-European viewers, but I was watching the House of Commons last night and Theresa May losing the vote, and brought a tear to my eye, irrespective of the vote. I personally believe that Brexit's not really a good idea, but you know, fair enough if you don't believe that. But it was nice to see the democracy in action in the Houses of Parliament. It was like I Claudius and House of Cards mixed together, and people can laugh at them and everything, saying why can't they get anything done, why are they arguing all the time among themselves, but that's how it goes, isn't it, with democracy? It's not perfect. And seeing that on TV and that being beamed around the world, I don't think it shows incompetence. I think it shows democracy at work, compared to watching some parliament in Russia where they all jump on each other and knock shit out of each other, like we're seeing in Romania, Russia. You see them sometimes, these parties, and they're all sitting there in the shiny suits with the skinheads, and then suddenly they lose it and they all end up diving on each other and knocking shit out of each other. And I think it's nice that you've got a process there where people can be civilised to each other, even if they disagree with each other by 180 degrees. Like this 180 degrees panorama view. And of course it's an uphill struggle when there's lots of people with different views, but if everyone gets to air the views and then there's a vote on it, well, it doesn't get much fairer than that, even though it's not very efficient and can seem like people are just wasting time. That's one of the reasons why it takes so long to get anything done in Britain. They want to build a high-speed line between London and the north, and it's going to take them years because they have to talk to everybody on that route. Somebody's worried about the sparrow nest, someone else is worried about losing the land, somebody else is worried about conversation, it's not the word, is it? Conservation. And everyone gets to go to say something, and it takes a lot of time, seems inefficient, but perhaps in other lands like China they can build 20,000 miles of high-speed line in 5 years. But nobody's got any say there. The people in charge say, this is where the line is going, there's the money, get it built. And there's no time for anybody to dissent. It will be done. And that's what happens in totalitarian countries, where the state has absolute power and the small guy has no say at all. Things get done quicker. I don't know if it's a better system or not a better system, but the price you have to pay is democracy, and if you don't agree with that government, that system, that idea, then it's hard luck and off to the salt mines with you. And I would say it's the exact same thing with the EU. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing really. Better than people knocking shit out of each other to get their way. And I often think the parties to the right, to the far right or to the far left, they're often a pugilist party. I'm saying that's rule of violence rules. If they want to get their way, they send out the soldiers, send out the riot police with the clubs and club you into submission for everything. Any sort of thing that you want to see happen, it's got to go the way of the state. And if you go against that, then you'll get clubbed on the head. What really rubs me the wrong way is people who become too extreme. In whatever way they become extreme. If they become extreme because they want to smash everything down because it's not exactly how they want it. People who are extreme left, people who are extreme right, people who are extremely religious. You know, they all got them little blinkers on the eyes like that, and they can only see a small state of reality, about 75 degrees of reality, and can never go 180 degrees and see the whole situation. Talking about people who voted for Brexit, I've got quite a lot of mates who I've known all my life, and I think they've been hoodwinked by the fake news, equating the European Union with Stalinist Russia, for example. I don't see it at all. I just can't see that perspective. I've lived in Europe all my life and it's a nice place. There's quite a lot of freedom when you look at a lot of countries in the world. And it's not perfect, of course it's not. Nothing's perfect, especially democracy. And you'll always get some dickheads in power, like the Juncker guy, or Juncker. It really drives me mad, that guy. I think he's a bit of a loose cannon. Well, doing things like ruffling that woman's hair and supposedly being drunk half the time. But, you know, that's just focusing on stupid little details. To my mind. And it doesn't show the whole reality. And, for example, Britain leaving the European community completely with no deal, it just doesn't make any sense. It makes it more difficult for everybody to work together. I sometimes think these people the extreme people who will say Juncker's a crazy guy who is in charge of the EU and telling us all what to do. I don't see that. I don't see it at all. In fact, I see the strongest form of being told what to do is by the British government itself telling people what to do in Britain compared to Europe. But also, on the other hand, I don't think the Brexit thing might not be a bad thing actually, because it's shaken up Europe a bit. It was getting too complacent. People like Juncker were appearing and beginning to think they couldn't be touched. And it's good to shake the tree a little bit sometimes and shake the bad apples out maybe. And maybe Brexit will start making people think a little bit what they actually really want, and not just become jingoistic and like supporting a football team or we are the fucking best, you are fucking shit. And I often think people with that mindset can only think in two parallels, right and wrong. This blinkered way of looking with no shades at all. They're sort of pugilists to me. They're people who can only sort out any kind of an argument by violence, by punching the other guy out. And that's what leads to wars and that lot, because then you're left with no option but to eliminate the guy who's against you, which might feel good with all the hormones running about your body and thinking that you're a tough guy, but at the end of the day the whole place becomes a shithole because of it. And no one feels safe anymore, nobody feels safe. And it's gone on, I think this as well is because people are dying off who fought in the war, and so many horrible things happened in the war, and people just forget that. And the main reason for the European community was to stop people killing each other just because they're from a different country. It seems like a lot of people want to go back to that mindset. I just can't get my head around it. And they often say, let's get all these corrupt bastards out, these Junkers and bureaucrats, and put our man in there. And they get their man in there. And will he turn out any different? No. He'll turn out worse, except there'll be no good points to the situation. One thing I've noticed is that all extremists, irrespective of what side they're on, all begin to resemble each other quite a lot. So you've got your far right extremists who want to kill every single Islamic person, and then you've got your Islamic extremists who want to kill everybody who does not believe in their religion. And then you see they're almost the same, aren't they? It's a kind of paradoxical twist on reality, but that's how it is. It's all kind of low-grade madness to me, without any reason in there. There's no reason and no stepping back and looking at things in a larger perspective. Maybe the reason these extreme groups become to resemble each other is because they don't deal in facts, they just deal in fairy tales, beliefs. Beliefs are quite strange things, aren't they, really? It's like, if you believe something strong enough, to you it's true. What is truth? Well, truth is usually when a certain amount of people decide that something is true, then it's true. But then that leads to lots of strange things happening, like in the Middle Ages they thought a lot of women were witches, and so they went out and killed all the witches. It's just the craziness. It's addictive. It's addictive and it's infective also. I think the internet and social media has changed a lot of things, and there's so much rubbish on there, ill-informed rubbish on there, and there's people who are easily fooled by it. People who are influenced by the magic of the printed word still, and because they've seen it in print, online, or on a screen somewhere, or somebody's spouting it out, and for them it's truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, even though it could be absolute bullshit. What we've got at the moment is nowhere perfect, but it's about the best we can do, really. Now, all this structure that we've got in Europe, all this EEC, all the stuff that's been built up since the war, it cost millions of lives, tons of blood, loads of money, and it seems to be a shame to destroy it all in a pick of misdirected anger, because I think that's where it is. People play a double game sometimes as well when they talk about free speech, the right to free speech. So the Nazi guy can walk along and say, I think killing the Jews was a good thing and setting up concentration camps was good, and we should do the same thing with the Arabs, or just nuke the motherfuckers, a lot of them. And people will argue that it's free speech and you should be allowed to say it. Even Voltaire said, I might totally disagree with what you say, but I will fight to the death to allow you to say it, which is a noble sentiment. But on the other side, if you say that to your friend in the pub, fair enough. But if you are disseminating it through broadcast media or Facebook, social media, YouTube, then that's a bit different. Then you're agitating. And that's why some of those things are banned. But just to say, free speech, I'm allowed to say it. Of course you're allowed to say it. You can sit in your front room and say it to your wife if you want. But disseminating it and possibly twisting people's minds with false facts, that's not good. There's that old saying, empty vessels make the most noise. I remember the teacher saying that to me when I was a little kid. I was 7, 8, and never work out what it meant until a few years later. And that's Facebook, YouTube, social media, in a nutshell, really. Empty vessels make the most noise. And the empty vessels, listening to the noise, are ripe to be filled. And therein lies the problem. And what happens then is you get really bizarre things happening. Things like that woman who was talking as Trump's mouthpiece when she said, we have our facts, we have alternative facts. Now, the definition of a fact is something that's scientifically clear. 5 minutes ago I walked on that road. I could say 5 minutes ago I slid down that snow. That's an alternative fact, fair enough, but it's not true. And using these alternative facts sends everyone into a low-grade madness. A communication with no meaning, just noise, white noise. And lots of little tiny lies, all adding up into a big lie. Nice little walk though, good to get some sun rays on the old pineal gland. Cheer me up a bit and rant out some of my worries. Another thing, one thing nobody ever told you when you were little is how scary it is getting old. And every little bump and pain, you're wondering, is that cancer? You're wondering it's disease. And if your parents are still alive, you're always standing, waiting there, laying in bed, thinking, am I going to get the late night phone call now? Watching friends die. And knowing that if you don't go first, you're going to lose all your loved ones. Pretty scary really, isn't it? And when you're young, you are not even in that dimension at all. You just don't think about it. But once your mates start dying, and members of your family start dying, then it gets worrying. I suppose not so much for your own death, but just losing your loved ones. That's the worst thing. That's when you think, the game's no straight. Yeah, it's easy to fall into the trap of everything's doom and gloom, especially as you get older. I suppose that's why there's so many alcoholics and drug addicts and people on antidepressants from the doctors, because basically we're all shit scared, aren't we? And we just want to have a world that makes us feel a bit less scared. But the thing is, don't let it get you down. We will survive.